Oh hey there, welcome to Get Ready with Murder. My name is Leah and this is a weekly, well, semi-regular true crime and makeup series that I do on my channel. This is October, so it is spooky Halloween season and I am doing Halloween themed true crime stories. Today I am going to tell you about the story of the Halloween killer, the trick-or-treat killer, the Candyman, or as I like to call him, a big asshole. So if you want to hear the story, make sure to stay tuned. Are you guys ready to get started? I know I am. It's been way too long. Let's jump in. So I've already got primer on my face. Today I am retrying the No Problem from Touch in Soul. Everyone loves it. I did not have a great experience with it, so we're trying it again. Right. So our story today starts on a spooky, rainy Halloween night in 1974 in Texas. This night in Texas, there was, trick-or-treaters out. It was kind of drizzly, but that's not going to stop kids on their hunt for candy. So costumes on, kids out the door. One particular family was Randy O'Brien, a father of two, who was out following them around trick-or-treating, as parents do to young children. He had an 8-year-old Timothy and a 5-year-old Elizabeth. So Ronald was like, I'll go with the kids and make sure nobody tries to take them or give them apples stuffed with razor wire. So let's go trick-or-treating. So Ronald pairs up with his, neighborhood buddy Jim, who's got his young kid, and they all start going out trick-or-treating together. So off they went down the neighborhood, trick-or-treating, getting candy, looking probably hella cute as a little witch and a goblin or whatever kids in the 70s dressed up like. What, He-Man? No, that was 80s. What would have been cute in the 70s? I don't know, probably some generic adorable costumes, possibly Flash Gordon? I don't know, I was 80s. So they get to one house where the lights are off and the kids go knock on the door, nobody answers. So they knock, knock, knock because they don't understand the universal symbol for no trick or treat, please. Lights are off, nobody answers. So after a few times knocking, they decide, the kids are like, whatever, more candy down the street, let's go. Bolt. Jim, neighbor Jim, follows them, and Ronald is standing there, left by himself, and is like, I think there is candy to be had. So he catches up with the family a few minutes later, and voila, there was candy to be had. He has a fistful of pixie sticks, hands them out to each kid, and they continue their night. So after a fruitful night of candy gathering and cuteness in the name of Halloween, they all head home. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I was done trick-or-treating and my parents let me go home, I wanted to eat all of the Reese's peanut butter cups, like all of them. In fact, I believe I had a barter system with my brother where I would give him something else in exchange for Reese's peanut butter cups, and to this day, they're still my favorite Halloween candy. Like those little ones that are in the foil, the best. Pumpkins, not bad either, but the little ones, like any kids on Halloween, Ronald's kids come home, they're like, can we please have some candy before bed? And Ronald, being a total dad about the situation, says, sure. How about these gigantic pixie sticks? Like, they weren't the little tube ones, they were the full 21-inch plastic tubes. I'm not sure if he didn't understand the effects of sugar on children before bedtime, or if he just forgot this night, or just was like, sleep, don't need it. Handed his kids some pixie sticks and said, have a great time trying to fall asleep. When Randall's son Timothy was eating his pixie stick, he was like, Dad, it's stuck, I can't get the sweets out. Which we have all known to happen. If it gets a little damp in there, the sugar all sticks together because they are pure sugar. So we helped him get it out. Timothy chugs the pixie stick and is like, ew, this tastes gross. So his dad got him some Kool-Aid because you wash down a pixie stick with Kool-Aid. Everyone knows this. Before Timothy could even get his pajamas on and get into bed, he started throwing up and convulsing. Ronald called the police, or 911. They sent an ambulance, and Timothy was dead before they even got to the hospital. The police did a autopsy and they found out that the cause of his death was cyanide poisoning. So they went back to his house and found the pixie stick and found that it had traces of cyanide in it. And Ronald told the story about how he got these pixie sticks from that house and gave it to these other children, and they all had those pixie sticks too. So the police were actually able to recover all of the other pixie sticks, and none of them had been opened because whoever tampered with them, what they did was cut off, you know, those long plastic tubes. So they cut off the top, filled the top 2 inches with cyanide powder, and then stapled them back together. Now, as a kid, you probably wouldn't even notice the difference because that's how they were kind of constructed. And there was, none of the other children had opened them. One had tried, but he wasn't strong enough to get the staple open, so he couldn't eat it. He actually fell asleep holding it in his hand. So that could have been 2 kids that were killed that night. After investigation, the police took Ronald back out to try to find the house where he got those candies. That is dark. And he wasn't able to locate the house. They looked and looked. He's like, I just can't remember. Is it this house? Is it this house? He said it was raining that night. They all kind of looked the same. He just knew that the house that they went to did not have lights on and was dark, that they got the pixie sticks from. A few more days go by and the police are getting more and more frustrated. So they take Ronald out again and are just like, you need to find the house. You need to tell us the house. So they're a little bit pushier with him, and it does work. He's able to remember and says, that's the house there. The police go to the house and the owner is not home, but they find out, of course, you know, who he is, where he works, and they go to his place of work and arrest him in front of all of his colleagues. So there are the police thinking, jackpot, we got this guy, case closed. This guy's an a-hole, going to prison for life. Well, it turns out he had a, what you call, rock solid alibi. He was working that night and his wife and daughter were at home. They ran out of candy pretty early, so they just turned off the lights and didn't answer the door like most people do when they run out of candy. So they were home, didn't have any candy, for sure did not give out any pixie sticks. And this man was at work. So that, of course, made police a little bit suspicious of what Ronald's motives were in telling them that story. Looking a little bit further into Ronald in the days that followed the death of Timothy, apparently he was just acting kind of bonkers. He wrote this really long, strange eulogy about how, you know, Timothy was now in heaven with Jesus, which that's normal, that's fine, except it was just very long and it was recorded for local broadcast news. And apparently he got really, really upset with some relatives that were staying with them because they didn't stay up late after the funeral of their nephew, grandson, whatever, they didn't stay up late to rewatch the thing on the news of him giving this beautiful epic eulogy at his son's funeral. Typically, to me, that is probably not going to be the focus of the day of your kid's funeral. And apparently that was strange to police too, because they looked a lot further into Ronald after that. After a little bit more research, they found out that Ronald, Father of the Year, had recently taken out life insurance policies on both of his children. Let me get the numbers right for you. So in January of that year, it was $10,000 per child. He had 2 kids, so that's a total of $20,000. And then a further $20,000 on each child the month before Halloween. So let's just say, so that's $30,000 per child. So if both children had died due to pixie stick consumption on Halloween, he would have come out $60,000 ahead. But Timothy is the one who died, and he, you know, had a $30,000 life insurance policy, and apparently Ronald called the day after he died to check on the payout of that life insurance policy. And not just the day after his son died, like first thing in the morning, 9 a.m. he's calling that insurance company and being like, what's up, when can I get that check? So all of a sudden things became crystal clear to the police department in Deer Park. The police, of course, got a warrant to search Ronald's home. They found in his home a scissors that had plastic residue on it that matched the plastic that was on the pixie stick tubes. So in their investigation, they found out other things from people in his community and around him. Apparently Ronald was taking classes at a community college and would ask the professors interesting things like, which is more poisonous, cyanide or something else? Why don't you tell me? They even found a witness at a local chemical company that stated Ronald had come to attempt to buy cyanide from them, but left when he found out he could only buy a minimum of 5 gallons. 5 gallons? 5 pounds. 5 pounds. 5 pounds of cyanide, which clearly was too much to kill his 2 children. They also come to find out that Ronald's $100,000 in debt. So couple insurance policies, some debt, a couple of eyewitnesses from very bizarre circumstances. He's arrested. All right, time for lashes, and I will be right back. So Ronald was arrested, of course, maintains his innocence through the whole thing, tells this whole story about how some evil person was at this house handing out pixie sticks, but it wasn't the people that lived there and that were home at the time. It was somebody else with the big hairy arm who, was clearly an evil boogeyman who wanted to kill kids on Halloween. So case goes to trial. It takes a whopping 46 minutes for the jury to come back with a guilty verdict. And 1 hour later, on June 3rd of 1975, he was sentenced to death by electric chair. After that, Ronald O'Brien was confined at a Texas prison in Huntsville, where he was reportedly hated by all of the other inmates, despised and completely friendless because he was not only a child killer, he killed his own child. His original execution date was set for August of 2000, how about 1980? And his lawyers successfully petitioned for a stay of execution, so that was put off until May of 1982 to give them time to prepare for an appeal and that whole thing that goes on in the justice system. That day came around and they were able to put it off a third time to October 31st of 1982. That was the 8-year anniversary of the day that he killed his child for money. He was able to get a 4th stay of execution because he was scheduled to be the first person in Texas to die by lethal injection, and his lawyers were arguing that lethal injection is cruel and unusual punishment. I don't disagree on that. So they gave him another year to file appeals and get to a new trial if it was approved. After that, a judge requested any further requests for stays of execution. It did go all the way to the Supreme Court, and on March 31st of 1984, Ronald O'Brien was put to death by lethal injection. So that is the story of the murder of Timothy O'Brien by his father, Ronald. Here's a bit of trivia for you. This case is the only actual documented case of a child dying by tampered with Halloween candy. And it was a planned murder of a specific child or possibly 2 children. There have been a lot of rumors that go around every year about, people handing out drugs, people putting razor blades in apples, what have you. But this one is the actual truly only documented case of that happening, which I found pretty interesting because, I'd always as a kid assumed that, there's always somebody out there who wanted kids to suffer for having fun and poisoning their Halloween candy, but it just turns out it was one real fucked up dad. All right, and this is the L'Oreal Infallible, what have you, in the shade Nudist. I've been wearing it a lot lately. It's my new fall color. Alright you guys, so that is the finished look and that is the end of this story. I really like this eyeshadow. This is the first time I've used it. This is a really nice palette. I'm going to do a full review of it, so look up here for a link when I finally get that done. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments below. Had you heard of this before? This was one that I was looking for Halloween true crime stories, and this is one that I found very interesting and very, very sad. So as usual, if you have any other stories you'd like me to talk about, leave those in the comments below because I want to know what you guys know. Alright you guys, if you like this video, please make sure to give it a like and hit that subscribe button because if you do, I will love you forever. Alright my little love bugs, have a great rest of your day and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, 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 bye.